Good evening, citizens of Dominion, and welcome back to part 3 of our From Day 1 series for today. We started picking up that adventure we had earlier, and unfortunately, even though we left the Dale, it seems the third person, Messina, couldn't follow the instructions, backtracking to pick up 7 instead, leaving us just 20 points shy from getting all the treasure chests. So let's see what we do get. Pet food, and man, I'd love some chaos boxes. Instead, we get a emerald, oh, pet emerald that is, and some more pet food. Yes, we do have Art Bell back with us. He will be joining us shortly. Today's guest will be Preston Dennett, who will be talking about paranormal activity and UFOs. Original air date of July 29th, 2015. We will have him starting in just a few moments, but let's take care of our mailbag first. Get our gifts in the bag. See if anything's in the special event bag you need to grab. And the answer would be no there. In the quest bag, so we can get our energy, of course. And we'll complete out a few missions. By the way, today's special part 3 shout out goes to KVN Love Shuna of server 87. Definitely appreciate you watching the show. If you like a shout out, just drop us a line. Either at, of course, gcheroWars@gmail.com on either of the two servers that I'm on, either 87 that we're playing before Game 1 or the Kraken server, server 48, or of course down in the comments on this video. We'd love to give you guys shout outs and all those other goodies. Alrighty, so there's the Gift of the Elements. Grab our field activity by Enchanting the Glyph. Come on, Nexters. Let's enchant a glyph. Alrighty. Well, Astroph's got a 0, so we'll do his tonight. Down here. And take it up to 12. There we go. Come on. There we go. Little 12 for Astroph. So that completes there. That'll move our activity up to 810 instead of 110. As soon as the game catches up. And while it does catch up, let's get the man, the myth, the legend, Art Bell in here. Again, original air date July 29th, 2015.
From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Whatever the case is, wherever you are in the world, this is Midnight in the Desert. I'm Art Bell. Welcome to the program. This program is free to all. We appreciate those of you who join the Time Travelers and then are able to download programs anytime they want. Send me messages on the ever-present wormhole, and so forth. Rules of the show are simple. Only 2 of them, no bad language. Only 1 call per show. No bad language, 1 call per show. That's it. Now, I like to thank people at the beginning of the show, so here we go. Telos for the great sound. Joe Talbot, your influence, thank you. Keith Rowland, my webmaster, of course. Dr. J, my producer, all of you. Now, the Belgab website, a lot of friends up there. They are a little wicked, a little lovable, a little both, a little rough, but, you know, if that's how you like it. Then we also have something called People Who Love Art Bell, and I want to thank them, MJ Sten. It seems I never mentioned them, and I think one of the reasons is because of the name. You know, people love our film. I mean, really. And there's a new one called midnightingdesert.com, and they follow the show, and they are a milder bunch. I think both of those are listed up on the site. Now, I think that's all the sites. The stream guys, of course, they carry the big heavy load to get to you. LV.net, they provide the back and forth internet that gets me on the air. And Peter Everhart, of course, my sales guy, up way up north in Alaska. I think that's it. All right, I've got a few things that I want to say. One, it looks like they found it. 370. A U.S. official says air safety investigators have a, this is in quotes, high degree of confidence that a photo of aircraft debris found in the Indian Ocean near Reunion, as a matter of fact, or on Reunion, washed up, is of a wing component unique to the Boeing 777. I think Boeing is sure, though they haven't, identified the numbers yet. And I think this is 370, so everybody can stop scouring Diego Garcia. And I think probably what they're doing is they're trying to figure out the proper protocol to notify relatives, and of course they do have to read the numbers. So we'll see. But it looks like they have found it. This goes to last night's show, and I want to read it, because I really think it does go to last night's show. Back in 2001, as part of Stephen Greer's disclosure project, you know Stephen, right? Sergeant First Class Clifford Stone blew the whistle on what he referred to as unacknowledged special access groups, or USAPs, within the U.S. government. Programs like this are commonly referred to as black projects or deep black programs, and they are of an extremely covert and secretive nature. Of course, unacknowledged special access programs are said to be highly compartmentalized, something I mentioned the other night, right? And even with those, the necessary security clearances can only access the information on a need-to-know basis, and you only need to know so much. They're hidden from public oversight and accounting. In other words, no watchdog committee watches over them, and they probably consume, for example, in 2013, Edward Snowden leaked secret government documentation that proved A, they do exist, and B, we spent about $52.6 billion for those operations in 2013, so that all goes back to last night's show. $50.6 billion. How many doctor's appointments would that be? And now something, by the way, coming up, of course, we have a guest tonight. Eventually we will be getting to him. Preston Dennett is my guest, and this may interest him. It interested me. He talks about ghosts. This comes from Anomalous.com. A lot of good things do. There's something notable about males and violence in real life, right? How many times does somebody walk in somewhere and start shooting? Usually it's a guy. But there is something notable about the afterlife. There's a study conducted by somebody named Eldonur Haraldsson, I believe it is, a psychologist at the University of Iceland, of all places, of 337 cases of people who have reported encounters with the dead. The survey. The apparitions were mostly males, and it's where the cause of death was known. In 30% of the cases, the person had died violently. That may not sound very significant, 30%, right? But the percentage of violent deaths in the study during the relevant time period, studies of reincarnation cases, most notably by the late Ian Stevenson, show the same pattern of mostly males being involved again and again and again. So, I guess mean in this life, mean in that one. And then there's no way I can let Cecil go without them. Cecil Fuller. it's got to be the saddest doggone story I've ever seen. Cecil was killed by a dentist. I guess you know that now, right? This was a lion in a preserve in Africa. In a preserve. And it is said that it was lured out of the preserve so this dentist could, from what I heard, shoot bows and arrows, arrows at it. And then I guess it was up to like 40 hours before poor Cecil, loved by many and tagged by the world, done. It took him a long time to die. So this guy could have his people lure him out and shoot him. And the public is really ticked off. I mean, really ticked off. Now this doctor has sort of just disappeared. I don't blame him. Everybody's after him. He's much hated. But it's just really a sad story if you see this time. My goodness. Hey, if anything will bring you close to crime, that's it. I have cats, as you know. Recently lost my Yeti. Oh, God, but so Cecil's nothing but a big cat. Really big cat. Was a really big cat till the dentist shot. So that's a big deal. And then there's one final item, and then we'll break. And that is, I discussed this the other day. I brought it up. It's the cube. I don't know why I'm stuck on the cube, but I'm stuck on the cube. And I asked Keith to bring it to the top of the website, which he did. But then he thought I was done with it, and I was just going to discard the cube like it was nothing. And so he eliminated it from the website, and I called him today and I said, Keith, where's the cube? I thought you were done with it. No. I'm far from done with the cube. And I'm going to discuss this with our guest coming up. No, I'm not done with the cube. I would like you all to go there and look at it, if you get a chance. These are still photographs taken, I might add, by many people. That's really important. Taken by many people. So, please go take a look at it. And I think this is something serious. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a fool. Maybe I am a fool. But it's being discarded by much of the UFO community. Why? Because, well, it's a cube. And I think that is a tragic, serious mistake on the part of ufology. Now, maybe it's some cube balloon or something. I don't know. But it's really odd. It doesn't belong. It certainly doesn't belong popping out of a cloud. Here's my thinking. Who are we to say that a UFO has got to look like a flying saucer? I mean, isn't it just silly to say that? For all we know, UFOs are invisible. Or UFOs are cubes. Or something else that doesn't make sense. I think this cube is extremely mysterious, real because many people got photographs from different locations. And it started me thinking, well, ufology seems to be sort of dismissing this, and I think it's because it's not a saucer. How could we possibly know how they think? How could we even guess what they might build? Isn't that rather, what's the right word, egotistical of us, or Earth-centered of us, or human-centered of us to be doing? I think there's something really there. And because it doesn't look like what we imagine, doesn't mean it isn't worth our attention. Go to arco.com, see it at the top, and you can hear the comments of the people. Well, all right. Coming up, Preston Dennett began investigating UFOs and paranormal. Tonight, we're not going to concentrate so much on UFOs. Well, a little cute talk at the beginning. And then out of body. And maybe some ghosts. Anyway, He started all this back in '86 when he discovered that his family, friends, co-workers were having dramatic and unexplained encounters. Since then, he's interviewed hundreds of witnesses, investigated a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. He is a field investigator for the MUFON UFO Network, ghost hunter, a paranormal researcher, the author of 17 books and 100 articles. Wow. Been all over the place. Radio shows, TV shows, history channels, deep sea UFOs and UFO hunters. His research has been presented, for example, by the LA Times, LA Daily News, Dallas Morning News, you get the idea. All over the place. He's taught various classes on paranormal subjects and lectures across the U.S. He currently lives in Reseda, California, and he'll tell you all about his website. He will be here in a few moments.
Of course, again, we just mute for the audio just so we don't get a copyright strike until they come back talking. Should be just a quick moment.
Midnight in the Desert is pounding packets your way on the Dark Matter Digital Network. To call the show, please direct your finger digits to dial 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952-CALL-ART. So we'll take a look at the cube. Actually, two separate people who happen to catch good shots of the cube coming out of a cloud. Or whatever it is it's doing. And I'm telling you, it's weird. Well, all right, on now to Preston Bennett. We're going to talk about a lot of things out of body, mainly, I think, but we're going to start with the cube. Hey, Preston.
Hi, Art. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. You are in Reseda, California, right?
That's right.
Okay. I called you before the show, and I said, look at the cube. And I take it you did.
I looked at the cube.
Okay. Now, it doesn't look like a UFO. Well, in the strictest sense, I guess it does. It's unidentified and appears to be flying. Other than that, though, it doesn't match up with the, what most people think it ought to look like, but it's weird. Really weird.
Right. No, it's not silver or metallic. It's not saucer-shaped. It's not V-shaped. It's not spherical.
Right.
These are the common ones that, I think we hear a lot of.
Yes, but, they might not think like us, huh?
Well, how could they possibly? I mean, by definition, they are alien. This is one of the things that's really, I think, kind of frustrating and at the same time interesting about investigating UFOs is the variety of these craft. And yes, we do get a lot of saucer shapes, but I don't think there's a shape out there that we haven't heard about, whether it's crosses or donut shapes or crescent shapes, or I mean, it just goes on. I had one guy tell me, I don't know how to describe the shape. If it wasn't octagonal, it had all these different sides that were different lengths. It was very oddly shaped, like a lump. So he kind of described it.
You seem to want it to be a saucer,
Yeah, saucers are nice shapes, definitely very convenient, but certainly that's not the only thing people are seeing.
I think that came from the early movies, science fiction movies that we had, because they were all saucers.
Right, it's interesting because Kenneth Arnold, he didn't actually see saucers, and apparently the Roswell craft wasn't, technically a saucer.
There you go. Right, you're absolutely right. Okay, well, anyway, I really wanted to call attention to that. I wanted people to look at it. It is, to me, as much if not more of a mystery than stuff that's like a saucer.
Yeah, you know what I like about the photograph actually is you can see this thing before it's fully formed.
Oh yes.
So it's as if it's interdimensional and coming into our
yes
physical space.
That's the other thing. I mean, who says their method of propulsion is remotely like anything we even imagine? It might have just materialized there.
Right, but you can see it interacting with the cloud.
Yes.
It clearly looks like a very large object at quite a distance from the cameras.
Yes.
It would be hard to fake for sure.
It would, and I don't think it was a fake. I mean, when people get it from different angles, I suppose it could be a fake craft, as it were, but it's not a fake photograph, that's for sure.
Well, I listened to the interview, and you can tell the witnesses are obviously sincere.
Yes.
And with multiple witnesses, well, right off the bat, there you've got a good case.
But it didn't go nuts like most things like that would, and I'm convinced the reason it didn't go nuts, even though it was covered, is because it didn't look right.
It's kind of Arthur C. Clarke 2001, The Monolith. Kind of made it scare people a little bit.
Exactly. Exactly right. I'm getting a little notice of internet connection problem from you. But I don't hear it. You sound great.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
So much for you, Skype. All right. Let's move to OBEs, and I really, really love the subject of OBEs, Preston.
Whoa, what happened?
Hey guys, it's Brian Christopher from PCSlots.com.
No, shut up. You are not Art Bell. I don't know where in the hell you came from. 1 second while I get him back. By the way, OBE, for your reference, is out-of-body experience.
My whole life. It happened when Ramona and I went to
I'm going to take it back a few seconds.
pure joy, but it's...
Alright, we'll rejoin them in just a moment. Let's take care of our level up first, as we move on now to 62. First things first, we can use Celeste, which is considered a mage. To do 4, because remember we got to do 25. Alright, while I look for other mages, we'll go back to art and out-of-body experiences.
I woke up and it's like somebody snapped a switch, and this is the only way I can describe it. I was in the most joyous, welcoming, amazing place I had ever been. It was absolute pure joy, but it scared the heck out of me, and I snapped right out of it. I was somewhere else. I mean, instantaneously, I was somewhere else. An amazing place of some kind. But boy, did it shock me, Preston. I didn't do any tours. I didn't get to go to some other place on the earth, as people have been described to do with OBEs. But it was incredible. There aren't words. So
No, there really aren't. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But we're on a radio show, so we're going to have to find words. So what is an out-of-body experience?
Well, the simple definition is an out-of-body experience is when you perceive yourself as being separate from your body. And to elaborate on that a little bit, we all have a dream body, or an astral body, if you will, which is separate from the physical. And in fact, we're kind of projecting down here from the so-called other side into a physical body. So an out-of-body experience is sort of the reverse of that. They call it projection. In fact, we're going towards, our source. And we not only have...
We're going toward our source.
Right. We not only have a physical body and an astral body. As you get into this, it gets a little bit more complicated than that.
What is the source?
Where we come from, God, all that is, spirit which moves through all things, the universe, the light. It goes by many different names in different cultures, but it's pretty clear when you start doing this stuff that there's something up there.
Okay, I'm going to give you a gift that will keep on giving, okay?
I'm ready.
You mentioned the light, right?
Right.
John Lear is a friend of mine. You know the name, I'm sure, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Learjet fame, buddy. Anyway, I did a very serious interview with John Lear, one in which he said, the most important thing I'm ever going to tell you, Art, or something along those lines, is as follows. When you die, you will have a choice of going to the light or the darkness. Don't go to the light. It's a trick. And I'll leave you with that, Preston, for you to think about that the rest of your life. Bugged me ever since.
I don't know. I've been in the light. You know, I've gone out of my body. I've done all of this.
Uh-huh.
And,
So you're here to say the light is the way.
It's a part of the universe. There's a source there. There's something really wonderful within the so-called light that near-death experiencers are reporting. Absolutely.
So, are you sure enough of the goodness of the light to say, John's all wet, go to the light?
Go towards the light, yeah. I think that you're going to be fine. What I would say, when you're at that point, make the decision then. This is not something you don't want to do. I mean, if you're uncomfortable with it,
see, this
has turn away.
Driven me nuts ever since. I mean, you make the wrong choice and there's no going back.
Here's the problem. This is a big problem on the other side. People who don't go towards the light, who are stuck here on the physical plane as ghosts. And a lot of these people don't even know they're dead. And this actually turns up in pretty much every out-of-body book I've ever read.
All right. Did you hear what I read at the beginning of the program about the study in Iceland of the people who died violently?
Yes. Yes, I heard it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
So it's real. In other words, I've said jokingly a few times, nasty on this side, nasty on that side. You think some truth to that?
Oh yeah, there's kind of levels of vibration, and if you are vibrating, with low-level emotions like lust or anger or greed or all of this kind of stuff, violence, you're not going to be able to move up to the higher realms where it vibrates much faster. It's much more beautiful. You have many more what I would call, I guess, supernatural powers. This sort of thing.
I've had the lust thing.
Oh yeah, this is something that the astral body is actually called the desire body. And
really?
This is something you'll find out pretty quick if you start doing this sort of stuff regularly, because this is where all your emotions come from, and your suppressions and anything you've really not dealt with. And when you pop out of body, this is not at all unusual for people to become absolutely terrified.
Yeah, I get that.
Or completely joyous, or consumed with lust, or the desire to eat food.
It seems to me if you pop out of your body and then get consumed with lust, you're in real trouble because you need that body.
Well, it's very much like having an erotic dream, you might say, except you're awake.
I get it, sure.
It's actually a really wonderful experience because you can live out pretty much any fantasy you want. You can create feasts of food. You can do just about anything that you can think of. The power of thought on the other side is amazing. You just think it, and it has a huge effect.
The way you're talking about it leaves not much question in anybody's mind. You've been there.
I absolutely believe I have. I really do. I think that we actually all have out-of-body experiences, but the trick is really remembering them. And I'm not alone with this. This is what other out-of-body travelers say as well.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Gee, I can't forget mine. It was so profound that I can't forget it. There are various tricks, aren't there, to getting out of your body. Let's go there. I have heard it said that, for example, feeling paralyzed and hearing a buzzing sound is very frequently something that precedes a possible OBE. Is it true?
Right. That's called the vibratory state. And that means you're ready. You're actually feeling the higher vibration of the next dimension, which is what that is. So you're ready to go. It's basically just a process of relaxing till you get to that point.
Okay, I've been there. I can't get past it. It's too scary.
Yeah, there's a huge fear barrier which you have to get over and just do it. The thing to remember is you can't be hurt when you're out of body. It's a non-physical state.
I know. This is what everybody who talks about OBE says. You can't be hurt. But I don't know. Let me ask you this: when you're out of body, is that, I hate to use this word, but I'm gonna, is that your soul that is separating from your body, in your opinion?
I don't know if it's quite like that, rather than it's just sort of an awakening to what's already there, or kind of reaching out to the larger parts of yourself. To a certain extent, it feels like that. I mean, it feels like you are no longer in your body. If you get good at this, though, you can get to a point where you can do what's called bilocation. And I've had just a few tiny tastes of that.
Do you think we have souls?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then, when you leave your body, would it be your guess that it is probably your soul that's a-leaving? We have to be a-leaving right now. We'll be right back in a few minutes. So relax, enjoy yourself. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? We're talking about an oasis for the soul, perhaps, with Preston Dennett right now. We're talking about out-of-body experiences. Preston, welcome back.
Hello?
Hello. Okay, so I was talking about, or asking about the soul, whether you thought the soul left the body when you leave the body.
Right. Well, some people do call it soul travel. I really don't know. I'm kind of just telling you what I experienced. And,
that's fair.
So I can't really say that this is my soul, but I do feel like you have a separate body, a dream body, which has actually these amazing abilities, such as flying. Flying alone is worth the price of admission for doing this thing.
Oh, yes. Oh, flying. Oh. I'm so into flying, and just sort of floating and flying around the buildings and the lakes and the trees and the forest. We all kind of want to do that, and how cool it must be. And you're claiming you have done it.
Right, walk through walls, visit distant locations. I think a lot of people have had flying dreams, and this is a real close indicator that you're, close to remembering what's going on at night. We're all having these experiences, and each night.
How do you know whether you're ready to walk through a wall?
Well, you try it. It's a little disconcerting, I have to tell you at first. Like, all right, I'm going to do it.
Boom.
I have to tell you, it took me over a year to keep my eyes open while doing it. And,
really?
I wouldn't pipe telephone wires for a really long time just because I was a little bit nervous about it.
So you really, you swear on a stack of somethings that you've walked through walls?
Absolutely. It's a remarkable experience. You can actually feel it.
That is so cool.
And brick is like a different texture from
wood. Wait. Describe it. You said you can feel it. If you walk through a wall, never having walked through one, tell me, what does it feel like?
Well, it's hard to describe, but you can feel the surface of the material, whether it's rough or smooth. Like brick is kind of grainy and rocky, and you can feel it right through your entire body.
Wow.
Through your arms and legs.
Wow.
And which is different from wood and smaller, thinner substances like glass.
I know words are hard for this. Let me try this. Is there any difference in the resistance of wood going through a wall and, walking through a brick wall?
Yeah. Wood's easier, glass is easiest. And you kind of pop out. It's like going through a bubble. You feel a little tug, and boink, you're out.
Oh, that's cool.
And, there's been times I've walked into walls and boom, hit it.
I really appreciate your being able to describe this. It's awesome. I've always wondered what it would feel like. And you're saying there is a difference. And you said with glass, it's kind of like a little...
Yeah. Right. But you can reach a point, where you don't actually feel any of this. If you're vibrating a really high frequency. But normally when that person pops out, still pretty low frequency and they're trying to just orient themselves, and you try and walk through a wall, and you might bounce off of it, which has happened to me many times. It took me a little bit to learn how to do it.
Well, see, that's what I'm worried about. Failure at walking through walls probably has some consequences, especially if you're really sure of yourself and you just go strutting right up to it, boom.
Yeah, there was one time I popped out of body, I'm like, yay, I'm doing it. I flew through my bedroom door, flew through the hallway door. I was into the hallway outside, and I flew down the staircase up in my condo building where I lived at the time.
Yes.
And landed into the second landing and sunk right up to my knees. And I'm like, oh no, what do I do now? Like flailing around, and I lost consciousness and was pulled back into my body.
See, that's part of the really scary part to me. It just really is. The possibility that you might sink into something. Ooh, that's not good.
Well, let me alleviate at least, some of your fears, because the truth is, what I found is it's very beneficial, and that the dangers are way overstated, and I found, in fact, it's got a lot more benefits than dangers. There's no real danger of getting locked out of your body, or getting possessed, or going too far away, or getting lost, or anything like that, because you have this silver cord, which pulls you back. In fact, the problem is staying out. That's truly the problem. And you get pulled back at the least if you even think about your body. If you have, a lot of fear will pull you back. A lot of emotion of any kind will pull you right back into your body.
I've got to give you this. Every person I've talked to on OBEs over the years has said roughly the same thing. So, that resonates with me. I've never had a description of walking through things. That was really cool. But the part about getting yanked back, if there's danger or if there's big emotion or something like that, most have said that. That's what causes me to kind of buy into all this, Preston, because everybody's saying the same thing.
Oh yeah, at first you're thinking, my God, is this happening to me? This can't be real. I must be dreaming. And you get into this sort of quest. Beginners always want to start moving objects. I tried that for years, and I still can't do it. There's some people who claim to be able to do it.
Right, not possible, I guess, huh?
I haven't been able to do it. But you want to. What I was able to do is go to a distant location and look at it, and wow, I didn't expect this to look like this. It was a location near my house, which I'd never been to.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go there and see if this is actually true, because what it was a cement river, which is near my house at the time, and it had dirt banked up on the sides, huge amounts of it. I'm like, there's no way, this is a cement river. There was plants growing and all this stuff. I'm like, I have to go see this. And this is how I got proof that, this is not for the first time. I got proof that this is not just a dream. Because it's very, pretty disorienting when you're out of your body and you're walking around. You feel like a ghost.
All right, so here's a question for you. If you are out of your body and try to move something, is it just your hand that goes right through it?
Right. Or you might think you actually moved it. And because there's kind of weird duplicate energy forms, I guess, thought forms, that you're moving around, which do move, but it's not the actual physical object. So, I haven't been able to do it, and I was obsessed with it. I don't know, I felt like a ghost walking around, and I was dealing with a lot of emotions, dealing with a lot of lust, a lot of gluttony. I would crave these feasts of food and all this kind of thing.
That brings up another topic, which I want to ask you about. You said you felt like a ghost. Is it possible, Preston, that some ghost reports are people doing OBEs?
I would be surprised if it wasn't the case.
Really?
I think that there's a few verified cases, not nearly as many as I would think would be out there. But almost certainly that has to be the case. Because there are a lot of cases, in the literature at least, where people have gone over to other people's houses and appeared, which I've tried to do, by the way. And I'm flying around in front of people, I'm like, here I am, do you see me, do you see me?
Seriously?
They don't see me. They cannot see me.
But you can see what they're doing, right?
Right.
If not, can you hear them?
Well, let me think about that. I don't think I've been able to do that. I'd have to... I don't think so. There's been a couple of cases. Yeah, I was once, went to San Diego. I have a friend who lives down in San Diego. Thought, this is a far way to go. I'll try that.
Okay.
And this is kind of what you do. You have a plan in mind. If you don't have your agenda ready, you're going to get distracted. You're going to lose consciousness. You have to really focus. The tightrope of consciousness.
You're saying you can plan this like you would a trip.
Exactly.
Wow. You really hesitated when I asked you about whether you could hear people. That's interesting. You would think the auditory aspect of it would either be shockingly there or even more shockingly missing.
Well, you know, when you go to the other side, so to speak,
Yes.
it's telepathic. You do hear music and things like that, but when people are talking, you're hearing them in your mind.
Okay. That says it all. Do you always hear them in your mind, or sort of just if you want to?
Usually. Not always. No, I once popped out. This is something I wanted to do. I said, I want to meet an enlightened master. You know, someone who's made it.
Right.
And this beautiful woman appeared on my balcony. Just a beautiful blonde woman. She says, keep your eyes open. And she grabbed my arm and pulled me up. Of course, I closed my eyes. And I instantly opened them, and she's depositing me into this field. And there's this guy sitting on a chair who I'm presuming is, you know, the enlightened master.
Right.
And he gives out this one weird sentence, which is what they do, these kind of koans or poems or something, little riddles. And it's really interesting what he says. He says, when you do something, do it absolutely. And he said it out loud. And he was punctuating each word. So it was an odd sentence for sure, which you know, has hidden meaning to it, which I could talk about.
Sure. The whole thing is just so astounding to me. How many times, Preston, have you done this? I mean, is it so many you can't count, or
Well, I probably could count it, but it's got to be in the thousands there, consciously. I think, again, that's a trick question.
Yeah, I don't mean it to be. I don't mean it to be. I really don't. I'm so curious about this, and of course, people are going to come forward and they're going to say, I want to do this so badly. How do I do it?
Right. Well, you know, for one thing, there's no real qualifications. All you need is the desire and the time to do it. You can be open-minded enough to do it. You know, put in the discipline. I don't think there's any link to physical health, because some people who are really good at this have ill health, and others are very healthy. And you know, there's no real dangers, as I was talking about earlier. And the only real obstacles, I think, are that people are skeptical about it, or they're scared, or
All right.
they're lazy.
I'm going to pin you to the wall here. you know, you said there's no real danger, and I've had other people say that to me too. So here's the question that I need an answer to. How do you know that some people who have left their body on this excursion into Joyville, wherever it is you're going, didn't have the cord snap, and we now regard those people who left us in such a way as having died in their sleep? I mean,
right. I can definitely speak to that. There is one case, you know, supposedly, where something like that presumably did happen, but you know, it was only one. It's kind of what I would call an outlier. And one person did tell me that they had a similar experience.
A friend of mine says it only takes one white crow to prove there's white crows.
These are statistically insignificant, though.
Well,
when you look at the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases of people who are doing this, there are just a very small residue.
Fine and safer, I know.
And, yeah, and anyone can do it. It's absolutely easy to do.
All right, let's go back to this one that you know of, this outlier, you called it.
Right. You know, all I can tell you about the case is supposedly that this lady was proficient at doing out-of-body experiences, and one day died at a young age. And there was no real link that they could make, you know, specifically that she was out-of-body practicing at the time she was doing it. But it's one case we have of, you know, people who are really good at this and are doing it regularly, and they die at a young age mysteriously. Most of the people experience actually the opposite. I've got 20 cases
now I'm worried
of people who got healed of chronic illness, or healed of cancer, or healed of all kinds of illnesses, colds, healed
just
of
from being out of their bodies.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's these energies on the other side. This is where your perfect body is. The astral body is the superior body. It doesn't age, and your physical body is kind of modeled after it. So you can actually reach these healing places and heal yourself of physical illness.
Now, see, that's making quite a claim.
Yeah, I've got 20 cases. You know, they're anecdotal, but one really good one is Bruce Moon. he cured himself of sarcoidosis, which, his case was a really bad one, and it's often fatal. He was getting worse and worse, and was able to go out of body and work on this wound.
Better than Obamacare, huh?
Well, I recently, tried to go to one of these healing temples and was successful. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited.
You're saying there are temples on the other side where you can go to be healed.
Right. I've read about them several times. People have, you hear different kind of explanations and descriptions, I would say. And I'm like, well, this is something I want to do. I'm going to put this on my list. And I did it. I popped out of body and I made the command, sort of made the intent known. And at that point, you're pulled off through the other side, or up into the sky, where I was 50 feet up above my house, and then boom, you go through this weird barrier, I guess you'd call it, and you're on the other side.
Wow.
And it's what I would call the heavenly realms. Honestly, I'm not a very religious man, but this is what it feels like.
I'm not overly religious either, Preston, so I'm with you there. I have hopes. But I have no strong faith, and I wish I did. I wish I did, and it might well be that seeing what you're describing would absolutely do the trick for me. Bring me to the healing temple. Hey, I've got a bad back.
Exactly what you do. Anyone can do this. You just meditate on this subject as you go to sleep. There's various ways of reaching the other side, and you don't have to go through all the weird exit sensations and things like this. I'm going to say about half of the out-of-body experiences I have, I just wake up on the other side. And, you're fully awake, by the way. Colors are much more vivid. It's the real reality. This is a pale comparison.
If I can just get past the fear. I mean, it really is scary, Preston. Because you do go through that thing where there's a humming sound, and you may go through feeling paralyzed. These are frightening things to happen to a person before you get to something better. They really are scary.
Oh yeah, it can get very loud. It can feel like an electric shock, and feel like you're standing next to a jet engine.
We'll see. That's what I mean.
But that's as bad as it gets. And pop, you're out, and boy, is it worth it. There's just so many things you can do. You can learn about your past lives, for instance. You can visit deceased loved ones.
And so,
by the way,
slow up. Past lives. My goodness, Preston. So you believe in reincarnation?
Well, I think I'm leaning towards it for sure, because I have some weird memories flowing through my head, which I can't pinpoint to this life. And this has kind of always been that way for me, but really, when I started going out of body, I'm like, all right, let's see a past life. And
you did?
I was able to do it several times.
May I inquire what you learned of yourself?
I learned that I had a lot of them. One life was, as a Native American. It's really interesting because often you're taken to the most traumatic or emotional incident of a lifetime, which is often the death scene. This was one where it wasn't. It was sort of the, what would you call it, come of awakening, where a 17-year-old turns into a man type of ceremony.
I would definitely not want to go to my death scene.
Yeah, it's scary. Let me tell you, I pulled out from a couple of them. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Because, this is something, you learn a lot about yourself. I learned a lot about, my obsessions with ships, for instance.
Ships?
Yeah, I had a lot of lifetimes where I was on, in the Navy or sailing or a pirate even. Wow. A lot of lifetimes where I was a monk, which I found kind of interesting because I'm really not religious, but I'm kind of really into the same sort of thing if you think about it.
You're like a travel agent for the other side.
Oh, it's amazing. I can't ask people enough to just try this. If you still have fear, here's one really good way of doing it. Is you think of someone you love who's already on the other side, and you can create a love bridge. And pretty much everyone has at least one person they know who's, passed away. And what you do is you just concentrate on that person that night and say, I want to see you. I want you to take me on a tour to the other side. I want to see how it's going. Let's connect. and it will happen if you might take a couple of meditations. Often it'll happen on the first night if you're really into it.
Well, I know a lot of people who have medical problems, take off to Bangkok and Thailand, get them taken care of, come home with extra money. That's one kind of travel for your health, and you're talking about an entirely different one, which is just so much harder for me. I can never get past that buzz. Just never get past it. Well, this is, of course, Midnight in the Desert. I'm Mark Bell.
And again, the audio just dropped until we do get by the music. Grinding out here, level 62. I think we still have a little bit of tower left to do. And then we'll be hitting the dungeon. Alright, we'll be back here in just a few seconds. Since our hero team just gets close to 85,000.
In the Desert with Art Bell. Now, here's Art. Here I am. Justin Dennett is my guest, and I'm so glad to have him. We're discussing out-of-body experiences, OBEs. I've interviewed over the years many, many people about this topic, and Preston, with some exceptions, is telling me exactly what they've told me. I believe that this is a real thing. You really can do it, folks. I know it's scary, and I'm trying to talk you into something that I'm scared to death of myself, so that's probably uncool, but it really is the real thing. You just have to be able to get past this buzzing, get past this perhaps being paralyzed a little bit, and somehow launch yourself. And I guess it's like, Justin, like a learning experience. Once you've been out, second time is easier, third time easier, that kind of thing?
I would say that that's true. Though there are still times, I'll be like lying down, I'll just go to bed, and suddenly I feel the vibrations. I'm like, whoa, I'm still awake here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I fly out, I'm like, whoa.
Right.
That's happened a couple of times.
I do understand. Let's just one last time go back to the dangers, which there are no dangers except for that outlier, which is worrying me a little. So generally, any strong emotion, any fear is a strong emotion, any, anything will yank you back into your body and you will be awake immediately, is that correct?
Right. And, that, again, the problem is staying out. It's not that there aren't any dangers. You can pop out and like, oh, there's hostile ghosts.
Oh, now see? Now why did you tell me that? Hostile ghosts?
Well, I want to be honest.
Okay, well, thank you.
A couple of times, but I just ran back to my body, basically. And that happens automatically. It's like, oh no, I'm going back.
No.
But yeah, it was scary. It definitely was.
Describe that one, if you would, please. Hostile ghosts. Well, I'm sorry. I need to get away. I've got so many questions in my brain, and one is this. It seems to me that the time this occurs is in that, I don't know, weird little time between consciousness and sleep. There's this little weird gray area, right?
That's the doorway to the, getting out of body.
There you
that
go.
sort of
Yeah.
hypnagogic state.
Right.
Which is where the magic is. That's where it happens. The crack between the worlds. So
Boy, it's such a weird time, isn't it? Between when you're awake and when you're asleep. And I can tell when it's coming because I start having weird thoughts. Really just off the wall weird thoughts about weird things. And then I'm asleep.
Right, I've tracked it very carefully. Suddenly your reasoning goes right out the window.
Oh, yes.
And you're just imagining things, and you're thinking they're real, and it becomes very kind of almost chaotic.
So there's no dangers except, of course, dying because you didn't get snapped back and or manifesting before hostile ghosts.
Right. Well, there was a time I would say I popped out of body. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. Usually when I go to the other side, it sort of happens automatically. Or I do it by just flying real fast and saying, this is where I want to go.
Right.
And you pop out in these beautiful heavenly realms. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes farther where it's even more amazing. But sometimes, you are kind of in between, and there's what you call a darker place.
Yes.
Sort of blackness or the lower realms. And I visited these as well to a certain extent.
Have you ever intentionally gone to those darker places?
Yeah, and it was not nice. People were pushing and shoving, and you try and pull them out of this place, and they can't hear you. And it's very uncomfortable, to say the least. But once I was flying out, and I felt some weird little creature grab my ankle.
Oh.
Well, this does not feel human.
Let me tell you something. You have just scared away 70%, 80% of the people who were in your camp ready to try it. Women don't like to think about hostile things grabbing their ankles. They don't like it at all, I can tell you.
I know how it sounds, and it did creep me out a little bit. I reached down and I felt its little fingers.
Oh.
I peeled them off.
So in other words, you can, even though you can't move objects out of body, you can move other, dare I say it, other out-of-body entities.
Yes, it feels real, in fact. There's not an experience on Earth that you can't duplicate, and it's not real, even more real. So, yeah, you can interact with it. It's not the physical environment, an environment that's exactly like it.
I mean, really, Preston, what is one of the scariest things you ever see in a movie? It's some lady standing there with this evil, probably detached hand headed toward her ankle, and everybody screams. So that's a rough one to get past.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, the benefits of this are so much better.
Yeah, but as a travel agent, you might as well pull your shingle off your door. Talking about ankles. Ay. Okay, all right.
So, yeah, that was one experience. And another, I'm going to be honest, which was unpleasant, was I flew out of my house, and there was 3 men there who were clearly hostile and wanted to hurt me.
Not the 3 wise men.
No, these were not wise men. These were murderers. These were thieves. These were N-words. And these people were vile.
Lovely.
So I'm like, all right, I'm leaving.
Probably all 3 of them products of having died violently, and God, that was an interesting story, wasn't it?
Right.
All places.
It certainly touched a nerve, because there's, as I said, a lot of ghost problems out there. In fact, if a person does this astral travel, at some point you're going to be called on to save a lost soul. I'm like, hey, that hasn't happened to me, so I did it. I did it intentionally. And it was amazing. I found this lost, and I was taken actually to this girl who had apparently suffocated under her house. I had the impression that she was murdered, but I couldn't say how. But she was scared. I'm just terrified, and I'm like, it's okay, come with me. And she wouldn't. I'm like, your mommy wants to see you.
Right.
And that sort of, got her. She's like, yeah, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take you to your mommy. And I'm just, winging it. I didn't know what to say. She was a poor little girl. I felt terrible.
That's what every bad guy going after a poor little girl says. I'm going to take you to your mommy.
Yeah, well, somehow I was able to convince her, and the poor thing, she took my hand. I could feel it. And I've read a lot about this, that it's, at some point they disappear, and you want to pay very close attention. So I had her hand, and I was looking at her. She was just a little girl with blonde hair, a little sundress.
Yes.
Cute little girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's go see your mommy. And I flew off to, what I would call the heavenly realms. And boom, no sooner was I kind of right through that barrier and into this pastoral place where she was gone.
See, you had me during the first hour. You had me cold. I was ready to try it again, and now you've lost me.
Pastoral place where she was gone.
See, you had me during the first hour. You had me cold. I was ready to try it again, and now you've lost me. What do you think? We'll come back to OBEs in a second. What do you think causes people to become stuck here, ghosts?
I think there's a huge number of reasons. The number one being they're skeptical of life after death to such a point that they don't even consider the possibility that they're dead. So that's a huge problem.
That the dead just don't know they're dead.
They don't know it. They honestly do not. It seems hard for me to believe, but this is a real problem. And as well, there's that whole category of people who are addicted to whether it's alcohol, drugs, or sex, or even their home.
Right.
They don't want to leave their house because they love it. They know they're dead and they don't care. Another reason is guilt. People feel so guilty that they're afraid that they're going to be judged by God if they go to the other side.
Well, I have heard that people do get attached to houses, that ghosts get attached to houses, and I'll be honest, I'm attached to my house.
Yeah, I love my little house. I don't want to leave it.
I mean, it is part of a human's comfort level, right, in life. Your house is your castle, whatever you want to call it, your comfort place.
But here's the thing, Art. You have one on the other side. You can create one, is what I'm saying. And it's awesome because you can build things any way you want. It's just your thought power. Once you get good at this and you go up, what I would say, to the next dimension beyond, or a dimension beyond the pastoral realms, which is, gets really crazy up in the higher realms because you can do all these things that are like superhuman.
I wanted to talk to you about this tonight because I wanted to talk about it, but I had no idea that you were this into it, this experienced with it. How long have you been doing this, Preston? Did you begin young or what?
I began pretty young, actually. This is not my favorite subject, by the way. I love this stuff. It has transformed my life to such a degree that I
hear it. Yeah, I can hear it in your voice.
It's so much fun.
So you were doing this.
Well, my mom died in 1984, and I was 19 years old. And so it was a real shock. I think our family was very skeptical of this kind of thing. I know they were. And certainly I was. I didn't believe in ghosts or life after death or anything paranormal. And so this was a really difficult thing to deal with, obviously.
Sure.
I saw her ghost. I'm thinking, all right, I'm really fixing my lid. I'm not going to tell anyone this. I'll tell you that.
Right. I get that too. If you were to describe all this, I think in everyday life, I mean, you and I are on a program right now that talks about this kind of thing. But, if this was unraveling to a stranger in a bar, it'd be a problem.
Right.
It'd probably not work out real well for you.
I wasn't happy about it, but I started having dreams about her that were very powerful, and I was convinced she was visiting me, even though I knew it was impossible. So it was very confusing. I picked up some books on dreams, which led to lucid dreaming.
Okay, so see that causes me to ask a very important question. How do you know, Preston, that these are not just either really good or in some cases really bad dreams?
Well, there's two ways. The first way is when you pop out and you turn and you look at your body, you can feel it. It's kind of revelatory experience, I guess you might say. But
I do agree with that. If you look at your own body, if you pop out and you look at your own body, that's big. No question about it. That doesn't seem like a dream. I don't think I've ever seen my own body in a dream. I know I haven't.
It looks really weird when you do it, I have to tell you. Like, whoa. And, and it's very convincing. Absolutely. Unlike, it's very, you're awake. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. It's, you know how when you know you're awake, you know you're awake?
Yeah, sure.
It's like that. So you're like, all right, there's no doubt.
Yeah, actually, you are very convincing. It's the tone of your voice and the enthusiasm in your voice. You just know what he's saying is the real thing, right? Midnight in the Desert, raging in the night on Art Bell.
That is where we will leave it tonight. For Midnight in the Desert, we will pick up Preston Dennett, out of body experienced paranormal and UFO expert, tomorrow night for part 2 of that Midnight in the Desert interview. Right now we're taking on the Guild War battles for today. First, the final battle to open up the bridge against a guild just by the name of Saya. And he has 2 Super Titans available, Raji and Hyperion. Raji goes down. Hyperion is just about out. And there we go. The Titans win. So we get 20 points plus bonus 60 for opening. So the bridge is open. So now we have the Outer Rim missions. Yeah, let's take Schneider, because that should be a real easy one. And there we are. Our 2 battles done for tonight, leaving the score 140-0 in favor of the guild. As always, make sure you do like, comment, subscribe, get us to our goals. And as we always say, release the Krakens. See you tomorrow.